right. So you sent me a ton of stuff about employment and skill development in India.
Yeah.
Looks like most of it is from the 2023-24 Economic Survey, especially Chapter 8.
Right.
And it seems like you really want to understand where India's job market is headed.
Yeah.
You know what the current situation is and how the government is trying to influence things.
Exactly. Okay.
One of the first things that jumped out at me was all the positive trends in employment.
Okay.
Like the survey says that the unemployment rate is down to 3.2%.
Yep.
Which is great news.
It is.
And then there are more people participating in the workforce now, especially young people and women.
Right.
So that seems like a really good sign overall.
It is. And, it's not just a one-time thing.
Oh.
This decline in unemployment has been pretty steady,
Right.
which seems to say that there are some fundamental shifts happening in the Indian economy.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, the survey says we're seeing a rise in self-employment, particularly for women.
Interesting.
So that means more people are creating their own opportunities instead of just waiting for a traditional job.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But is that self-employment by choice? Or is it because people are having trouble finding more traditional jobs?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
I mean, are people choosing to be their own boss, or are they kind of forced into it?
Right. There's always this debate, about whether more self-employment is a good thing or a bad thing.
Like a sign of distress or a sign of empowerment?
Exactly.
Oh.
And the survey seems to think it's more of a good thing.
Okay.
That at least some of this increase in self-employment is because people want the flexibility and control it offers.
So it's not just about how many jobs there are, but also what kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And speaking of different types of jobs, the survey also talks about this shift towards more formal employment, especially for younger folks.
Yeah, we see that with the huge increase in new EPFO subscribers between 18 and 28 years old. They're getting those formal sector jobs with better wages and benefits.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hopefully better Social Security, too.
Definitely. The survey says that part of this shift is because of the government's push to formalize the workforce.
Like with the ABRY?
The Atmanirbhar Bharat Rajkar Yohana.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about women in the workforce.
Okay.
One thing that I found really interesting was that female labor force participation is increasing, especially in rural areas.
Yeah, that's a big trend they highlight in the survey.
So what's driving that?
Well, they say it could be a few things.
Okay.
Like agricultural growth,
Okay.
better access to basic amenities like piped water and sanitation, and government programs like MG and Reg-A,
Which is
the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act.
right.
All of those could be giving women more time and making it possible for them to work.
So it's like a combination of economic opportunities and a better standard of living.
Exactly.
But the survey also says that we still have a long way to go to make things really equal for women in the job market.
Right.
Like they point to those regulations that actually limit women's opportunities to work.
Yeah, like those rules that stop women from working in some industries or during certain hours.
That seems kind of backward.
I know. They might be trying to protect women,
Right.
but those regulations can really hold them back.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of those barriers so women can really contribute to the workforce.
Okay, so switching gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about manufacturing.
Right.
The survey says that organized manufacturing has made a really impressive comeback after the pandemic.
Yeah, it has.
Employment is even higher than it was before.
Right, and what's really interesting is that the bigger factories are paying better, and they're seeing the most growth in employment.
So it seems like the manufacturing sector is scaling up,
It does.
which could mean that we're going to see more high-quality jobs.
Definitely a possibility.
And the survey also talks about growth in areas like computers and electronics.
Yep.
Does that mean that Indian manufacturing is moving up the value chain?
I think so. It seems like we're moving beyond just low-cost, labor-intensive production.
So we're making more sophisticated stuff.
Right. And that could mean more skilled and higher-paying jobs in the future.
So overall, it seems like there's a lot going on in the Indian job market.
Yeah, lots of change.
Unemployment is down. More people are working.
Yep.
And the types of jobs are changing too.
Definitely. And it's clear that the government is trying to influence things with all these different schemes and initiatives.
Yeah, the survey goes into a lot of detail about those.
They do.
Like the PLI scheme.
A production-linked incentive scheme.
Right, which is all about encouraging domestic manufacturing.
And attracting foreign investment in certain sectors.
Okay.
And the survey seems to think that this scheme has really helped the manufacturing sector to recover and grow.
So it's not just about creating jobs, They're also trying to improve things for workers.
Yeah, for sure. They talk about things like the eShram portal.
Right, which is...
That's for unorganized workers.
Gotcha.
And then there's the PM Esfanidi scheme for street vendors.
Okay.
And the One Nation, One Ration Card program for migrant workers.
Right.
All of those are about providing some kind of safety net for workers who don't have access to traditional benefits.
But the survey also says that there are some challenges ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they talk about those new labor codes and how the states need to pass them quickly.
Right. And they also highlight certain regulations that could make it harder to create jobs.
Like what?
Well, they mention high overtime wage premiums as something that could discourage businesses from hiring more people.
So even though the government is doing a lot of good stuff, they still need to work out a few kinks.
Absolutely.
Now, what I also found really interesting was how this survey looked at what's going to shape the future of jobs in India.
Okay.
They talk about AI, the gig economy, and climate change.
Yeah, those are definitely some of the biggest forces that are going to be impacting the job market.
And they spent a lot of time talking about how AI could affect jobs.
They do, because it has the potential to both create and destroy jobs, depending on how we use it.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they talk about making smart technological choices so that AI actually helps workers.
Right.
And doesn't just put everyone out of work.
So it's not enough to just embrace AI.
No.
We have to be strategic about it.
Exactly. We need to use it to make people's lives better and create new opportunities.
Okay, and the survey also talks about the gig economy.
Yeah, which has been growing like crazy in India.
For sure.
And they point out that there are both opportunities and challenges.
Like what?
Well, on the one hand, it can create a lot of flexible jobs, but on the other hand, we need to make sure that gig workers have fair wages, safe working conditions, and some kind of social security.
Because they often don't have the same protections as people with traditional jobs.
Exactly.
And what about climate change?
Well, that's another big one.
Yeah.
The survey says that extreme heat could cause job losses.
Especially in agriculture and construction.
Right, where people are working outside.
Yeah. But they also say that going green could create new jobs.
Yeah, in areas like renewable energy and sustainable agriculture.
That's kind of a mixed bag.
It is. There are risks and opportunities.
So with all these factors at play, how do they even try to figure out how many jobs India needs to create?
Well, they take into account population growth, more women joining the workforce, and people leaving agriculture.
Right.
And based on all of that, they say that India needs about 78.5 lakh new non-farm jobs every year until 2030.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
So it seems like we need to think outside the box when it comes to creating jobs.
Definitely. And the survey points to a couple of sectors that have a lot of potential agro-processing in the care economy.
Okay, so let's start with agro-processing. The survey says that India doesn't process a lot of its agricultural products.
Yeah, we grow tons of food, but we don't do much with it after that.
Which seems like a missed opportunity.
It is, and they think that expanding agro-processing could create a lot of jobs.
Especially in rural areas.
Right, where they're really needed.
So instead of just sending our raw materials to other countries, we could be processing them here and making finished products.
Exactly, and they give the example of the Sahyadri Farmer Producer Company in Maharashtra.
What do they do?
Well, they process and export fruit.
Okay.
And they've created thousands of jobs doing it.
So they're like a model for how agro-processing can work.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now what about this care economy?
Well,
I'm not really sure what that is.
It's basically all the activities that are about caring for other people.
Like childcare.
Yeah.
Elder care. Healthcare.
Exactly. And it's a really important part of any society.
I guess so.
But it often gets overlooked.
And they say the demand for these kinds of services is going to keep increasing.
Yeah, because India's population is aging and more women are joining the workforce.
So they need someone to take care of their kids and their aging parents.
Exactly.
So it's not just socially important. It could be a big economic driver, too.
Absolutely. Investing in the care economy could create a lot of jobs.
And solve some important social problems at the same time.
Right. They talk about how public childcare in Mexico has helped more women join the workforce.
Interesting.
And they also mentioned the Siwa childcare centers in India.
What are those?
They're childcare centers that have had a really positive impact on how kids develop.
Oh, wow.
So there are lots of possibilities.
From childcare and elder care to more specialized things like mental health counseling.
Yeah, it's a really broad field.
So we've talked about the current state of employment, the challenges, and the potential of sectors like agro-processing and the care economy.
Yep.
But none of that is possible without a skilled workforce.
Absolutely not. The survey talks a lot about how important it is to make sure people have the right skills for the changing job market.
So are we making progress there?
It seems like they say that the proportion of skilled people in India is increasing.
Okay.
And that India is doing better in the world skills competitions.
Which are?
Those are like the Olympics of vocational skills.
Gotcha.
So that's a good sign.
But what else needs to be done?
Well, they say we need to get businesses more involved in skill development.
To make sure that the training programs are actually teaching people the skills they need.
Exactly. And they also mention the PM Vishwakarma scheme.
Which is?
It's designed to support traditional artisans and craftspeople by giving them modern skills and helping them sell their products.
So they're trying to preserve those traditional skills while also preparing people for the future.
Yeah, they're trying to strike a balance.
What other kinds of programs are there?
Well, there's PMKVY.
What's that stand for?
The Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yohana.
Okay.
Then there's the Craftsman Training Scheme, so the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, or NMAPS. All of those programs give people training and financial help so they can learn new skills.
And they also talk about the Skill India digital platform.
Yeah.
Which is...
That's an online platform where people can find and access training programs.
So it seems like they're doing a lot to support skill development.
They are.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about jobs and skills for the future, what does it actually mean for people like me or for our listeners?
Yeah.
How do we make sense of all this and prepare for what's coming?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And the survey really emphasizes the importance of being adaptable.
Okay.
It's not about picking one job and sticking with it forever.
Right, because the job market is changing so fast.
Exactly.
So we need to be ready to learn new things all the time.
Yep. It's about having that mindset of continuous learning.
And being open to new possibilities.
Absolutely. The skills that are hot today might be totally useless tomorrow.
That's scary.
It is, but they say we should focus on those transferable skills.
Like what?
Things like problem solving,
Okay.
critical thinking, communication, and collaboration.
Gotcha.
Those are skills that you can use in any job.
It's like building a strong foundation.
Exactly.
So you can adapt and thrive no matter what happens.
Right. And in a world where more and more things are automated,
Yeah.
those human skills are going to be even more valuable.
I guess robots can't do everything.
Not yet, anyway. The survey says that in the future, we might see fewer people doing those routine, repetitive tasks.
Okay.
And more people doing those higher-level tasks.
The ones that require creativity and problem solving and working with other people.
Exactly.
So for someone who's just starting their career.
Yeah.
Or thinking about changing careers, what should they be doing?
Well, the survey says people need to be proactive.
Okay.
Don't just focus on what's popular now.
Right.
Think about the long term.
Like what's going to be in demand 5 or 10 years from now?
Exactly. They specifically recommend exploring the skills that will be needed for AI and the green transition.
So don't just follow the crowd.
No.
Think about where the opportunities are going to be in the future.
Right. And even if you're not planning to change careers, it's still a good idea to stay up to date with what's happening.
With new trends and technologies.
Exactly. It'll make you a more valuable employee.
So be adaptable. Learn new things all the time.
Yep.
Focus on those transferable skills.
Right.
Okay, that's a good starting point.
It is.
What other practical advice did you get from all this?
Well, they really stressed how important digital literacy is. Being comfortable with technology, data, and digital tools.
Right.
It's not really optional anymore.
Yeah, it's like the new literacy.
Exactly. You can't really participate in the modern economy without it.
And beyond those basic digital skills, are there certain areas that are really hot right now?
Well, they mentioned data science,
Right.
artificial intelligence,
cybersecurity, and cloud computing.
Gotcha.
If you're thinking about learning some new skills, those are areas where there are going to be a lot of jobs.
So those are some specific things to look into.
They are.
What about green skills?
Well, as we move to a greener economy, there's going to be a lot of demand for expertise in things like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and environmental conservation.
So if you're working in a field that depends on fossil fuels, you might want to start thinking about a career change.
It might be a good idea.
Okay, so digital skills, green skills.
Wow.
Anything else we should have on our radar?
Well, they talked about the potential of agro-processing.
Right.
Especially if you're interested in agriculture or food. It's a growing area with a lot of opportunity for innovation.
And it could create jobs in rural areas.
Exactly.
It sounds like it could be a good field for entrepreneurs, too.
Absolutely.
And then there's the care economy,
which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and that's not just about traditional caregiving roles.
It's about things like geriatric care, early childhood education, and mental health counseling.
Right.
So there are lots of different paths you could take.
Definitely. It's about finding what you're interested in.
Right.
And getting the skills and training you need to succeed in that area.
And don't forget about entrepreneurial skills.
Oh, yeah. Those are important, too.
Because the survey encourages people to think about starting their own businesses.
Especially with the gig economy and all these online platforms.
Well, it seems like the old ways of working are changing.
They are. More and more people are creating their own opportunities.
And even if you're not starting a business, entrepreneurial skills are still really valuable.
Definitely things like creativity, problem solving, being able to spot and seize opportunities.
So be adaptable, digitally savvy, aware of the green transition, and maybe even a little bit entrepreneurial.
It's a lot to keep in mind.
It is. But the good news is that there are resources to help people develop these skills.
Yeah, the survey talks about all those government programs. And there are tons of private training providers and online learning platforms, too.
So really, it's up to each of us to take charge of our own learning.
Exactly.
And be proactive about getting the skills and knowledge we need to thrive.
Absolutely. It's about empowering yourself to navigate this new world of work.
And create a successful and fulfilling career.
Right.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Good.
So that covers a lot of the current state of employment in India and what the future might hold.
It does.
Now, I want to go back to something that really stuck with me from the survey.
Okay.
This idea of technological choices.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying that we need to be more deliberate about how we use technology.
Exactly. We can't just passively accept every new gadget or platform that comes along.
We have a say in how technology affects our lives and our work.
Right. And they use AI as an example. They say that AI could be used to automate tasks and make things more efficient. But it could also be used for surveillance and control.
Oh, wow.
Which brings up some ethical concerns.
That's kind of unsettling.
It is. It's a good reminder that technology is just a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
So we can't just leave these decisions to tech companies or governments?
Definitely not. We all have to be part of the conversation about how technology is used.
And it's not just about AI.
No, they talk about other emerging technologies, too.
Like what?
Things like blockchain, the Internet of Things, gene editing, and nanotechnology.
All those could completely change entire industries.
They could.
But they also raise ethical and societal questions.
Yeah, questions that we need to be thinking about now.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
The future of work is going to be so different from what we're used to.
It is.
And technology is going to play a huge role in shaping that future.
Absolutely. It's exciting and a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But the survey makes it clear that we're not powerless.
Okay.
We can shape the future we want by planning carefully, making smart decisions, and investing in our people.
So we can create a future that's prosperous and fair for everyone.
Exactly.
So to wrap things up,
what
are the key takeaways for our listeners?
All right. Well, first, embrace lifelong learning.
Okay.
The skills you have today might not be relevant tomorrow.
Right.
So be curious, be adaptable, and always be willing to learn new things.
Stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Keep learning and growing. Pay attention to those trends we've been talking about.
Like digital skills, green skills, agro-processing, and the care economy.
Those are the areas where you're likely to find jobs in the future.
And don't forget about those soft skills.
Definitely not communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving.
All that good stuff.
Yep. Those are the skills that will make you stand out.
Especially as automation becomes more widespread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, don't just sit back and wait for the future to happen.
Okay.
Get involved. Be part of the conversation about technology, ethics, and the future of society.
Make your voice heard.
Exactly. The future isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
We create it together.
By being informed, engaged, and proactive.
Exactly. That's how we make sure the future of work in India benefits everyone.
Well said.
Thanks.
That's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking us through all of this.
You're welcome.
It's been really insightful.
Good. I'm glad.
And I hope our listeners found it valuable, too.
Me too.
So that wraps up our deep dive into employment and skill development in India.
It does.
We'll be back soon with more deep dives into the latest research and ideas that are shaping our world.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep learning.
Yep.
Keep growing. And keep diving deep.
Absolutely.
And then there's climate change.
Right.
The survey says that could have a big impact on the job market, too.
Yeah, it could. Extreme heat could actually lead to job losses.
Oh, wow.
Especially in sectors like agriculture and construction.
Where people are working outside.
Exactly.
But it also says that moving to a greener economy could create new jobs.
Yeah, in areas like renewable energy and sustainable agriculture.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, climate change is a risk, but it also creates opportunities.
Okay, so with all of these factors at play, how do we even begin to estimate how many jobs India needs to create?
Well, the survey actually tries to tackle that question.
Okay.
They take into account things like population growth, women entering the workforce, and people moving away from agriculture.
So they're looking at the big picture.
Yeah, and based on all of that,
yeah,
they say that India needs to create something like 78.5 lakh new non-farm jobs every year until 2030.
Wow. That's a huge number.
It is.
So we need to be thinking about new ways to create jobs.
Absolutely. And the survey highlights two sectors that they think have a lot of potential.
Okay.
Agro-processing and the care economy.
Okay. Let's start with agro-processing.
All right.
So the survey says that India doesn't really add a lot of value to its agricultural output.
Yeah, we grow a ton of food, but we don't process very much of it.
Which seems like kind of a waste.
It does. And they think that if we could expand agro-processing, it would create a lot of jobs.
Especially in rural areas.
Exactly.
So instead of just exporting all of our raw materials, we could be processing them here and creating finished products.
Right. And they talk about the success of the Sahyadri Farmer Producer Company.
Where are they?
They're in Maharashtra.
Okay.
And they've created thousands of jobs by processing and exporting fruit.
So they're a good example of how it can be done.
Exactly.
Okay, now what about this care economy?
So the care economy is basically all the activities that involve caring for other people.
Like childcare and elder care?
Yeah, and healthcare.
Okay.
And it's a really important part of any society.
I can see that.
But it often gets overlooked.
I guess people don't always think of it as part of the economy.
Right. But it is. And the survey says that the demand for care services is going to increase.
Why is that?
Well, because India's population is aging, and more women are joining the workforce.
So they need someone to take care of their kids and their aging parents.
Exactly.
So investing in the care economy could create jobs and help address those social needs at the same time.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
They give some examples of how it's worked in other places.
Yeah, like public childcare in Mexico, which has helped more women get jobs.
And they also talk about SIWA.
Yeah, SIWA has childcare centers in India that have had a really positive impact on children's development.
That's great.
Yeah, so there are lots of possibilities within the care economy.
From childcare and elder care to more specialized things like mental health counseling.
Exactly. And the survey really stresses the importance of developing a good care ecosystem in India.
What does that mean?
Well, it means having a system that's well-structured and tailored to the specific needs of the Indian context.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly.
And what about government initiatives in this area?
Well, they talk about the revamped Palna scheme for childcare.
Okay.
And they stress the need for a comprehensive elderly care policy.
Because we have a growing elderly population.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the current employment situation, the challenges, and the potential of agro-processing and the care economy.
Yeah.
But all of that depends on having a skilled workforce.
Absolutely. The survey has a whole section on skill development because it's so important to make sure people have the right skills for the jobs of the future.
So are we doing a good job there?
It seems like we're making progress.
Okay.
They say that the proportion of skilled people in India is increasing and that India is doing better in the world skills competitions.
The what?
The world skills competitions.
Okay.
They're like the Olympics for vocational skills.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good sign.
It is. But what else do we need to be doing?
Well, they say that we need to get businesses more involved in skill development to make sure that the training programs are actually teaching people the skills that businesses need.
So it's about aligning education with the needs of the job market?
Exactly. And they also talk about the PM Vishwakarma scheme.
Which is?
It's a scheme to support traditional artisans and craftspeople by giving them modern skills and helping them connect with markets.
So it's about preserving those traditional skills while also preparing people for the future.
Exactly.
What other kinds of programs are there?
Well, there's PMKVY.
What's that?
It stands for Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yohana.
Okay.
And then there's the Craftsman Training Scheme and the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, or NAPS. All of these schemes offer training and financial support so people can learn new skills.
So there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, and they also talk about the Skill India digital platform.
What's that?
It's an online platform where people can find and access different training programs.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a really useful resource.
So it seems like they're doing a lot to support skill development.
They are.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about jobs and skills of the future, I'm wondering what it actually means for individuals.
Yeah.
For our listeners.
Right. How do we prepare for this new world of work?
Exactly.
Well, the survey really emphasizes the importance of being adaptable.
Okay.
It's not about picking one job and sticking with it forever.
Right, because the job market is changing so fast.
Exactly.
So we need to be willing to learn new things all the time.
Exactly. It's about having a mindset of continuous learning.
And being open to new possibilities.
Absolutely. The skills that are in high demand today might be completely obsolete tomorrow.
That's scary.
It can be. But the survey says that we should focus on developing transferable skills.
Like what kind of skills?
Things like problem solving, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration.
So those are skills that you can use in any job.
Exactly.
It's like building a solid foundation.
Yeah, so you can adapt to whatever changes come your way.
And thrive in any environment.
Right. And as more and more jobs become automated, those human skills are going to become even more valuable.
Because robots can't do everything.
Not yet, anyway. The survey suggests that in the future, we'll probably see fewer people doing those routine, repetitive tasks.
Okay.
And more people doing those higher-level tasks that require creativity, complex problem solving, and working with other people.
So for someone who's just starting out or thinking about a career change, what should they be doing?
Well, the survey says, be proactive.
Okay.
Don't just chase what's hot right now.
Right.
Think about the long-term trends. What skills are going to be needed in 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years?
So look beyond the current hype.
Exactly.
Right.
They specifically say to explore the skills that are going to be in demand in AI and the green transition.
So it's about anticipating the future. And even if you're not planning to change careers, it's still important to keep learning.
Absolutely.
To stay up to date with new trends and technologies.
It'll make you more valuable in your current role.
Okay, so be adaptable.
Yeah.
Lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Focus on those transferable skills.
Right.
What else?
Well, the survey really highlighted digital literacy.
What does that mean?
It means being comfortable with technology, data, and digital tools.
It's like basic computer skills.
It is. And those skills are basically essential for any job these days.
Yeah, it's like the new literacy.
Exactly. You can't really function in the modern economy without it.
And beyond those basic skills, are there certain areas that are really hot right now?
Well, they talk about data science, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and cloud computing.
So those are some specific areas to look into.
They are. There's a lot of demand for those skills.
And what about green skills?
Well, with the transition to a greener economy, there's going to be a need for people with expertise in areas like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and environmental conservation.
So if you're working in a field that's heavily reliant on fossil fuels, you might want to think about getting some new skills.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to start exploring other options.
Okay, so we've got digital skills, green skills.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, they talked about the potential of the agro-processing sector.
Right.
Especially if you're interested in agriculture or food systems. It's a growing area with lots of opportunity for innovation.
And it could create a lot of jobs in rural areas.
Exactly.
It also seems like it could be a good field for entrepreneurs. And then there's the care economy.
Right. which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And that's not just limited to traditional caregiving roles.
Oh, there are other possibilities?
Yeah, there are opportunities in areas like geriatric care, early childhood education, and mental health counseling.
It's a pretty diverse field.
It is.
So it seems like there are a lot of different paths you could take.
Yeah, it's about finding what you're passionate about and then getting the skills and training you need to excel in that area.
And they also talk about the importance of entrepreneurial skills.
They do, because more and more people are starting their own businesses these days.
Especially with the rise of the gig economy.
Exactly. And all those online platforms make it easier than ever to get started.
So it seems like the old ways of working are changing.
They are. The lines are blurring, and more and more people are creating their own opportunities.
And even if you're not starting a business, those entrepreneurial skills are still valuable.
Absolutely. Things like creativity, problem solving, and the ability to spot and seize opportunity.
Those are important in any job.
Exactly.
So be adaptable, be digitally savvy, be aware of the green transition, and maybe even a little bit entrepreneurial.
That's a good recipe for success.
It is.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot to keep track of.
It is, but the good news is that there are resources out there to help people develop these skills.
Like what?
Well, the survey mentions all those government schemes.
Right.
And there are tons of private training providers and online learning platforms, too.
So people have options.
They do. Yeah. Ultimately, it's up to each of us to take ownership of our own development. And be proactive about getting the skills and knowledge we need to thrive.
It's about empowering yourself to navigate this new world of work.
Exactly.
And create a successful and fulfilling career.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But I want to go back to this idea of technological choices that the survey talks about. It's like they're saying that we can't just let technology happen to us.
Right.
We need to be more intentional about how we use it.
Exactly. We have the power to shape how technology impacts our lives.
And our work.
Absolutely.
And they use AI as an example.
Yeah.
AI could be used to automate tasks and make things more efficient.
Right.
But it could also be used for surveillance and control.
Which is a bit worrying.
It is.
It raises some serious ethical questions.
So it's not just about the cool new gadgets and platforms.
No.
We have to think about the implications.
Absolutely.
And we can't just leave those decisions to the tech companies or the government.
Right. We all have a responsibility to think about how technology is used.
And speak up if we see something that's not right.
Exactly.
And it's not just about AI either.
No, the survey mentions a bunch of other emerging technologies.
Like what?
Things like blockchain, the Internet of Things, gene editing, nanotechnology.
It seems like all of these have the potential to completely transform industries.
They do.
But they also raise some big ethical and societal questions.
Yeah, questions that we need to start addressing now.
It feels like we're standing at the edge of a really big shift.
I know. It's both exciting and a little bit scary.
The future of work is going to look so different.
It is.
And all of these new technologies are going to play a huge role in shaping that future.
Absolutely.
But the survey says that we're not helpless.
No, we're not.
We have the power to create the future we want.
Exactly. But how?
Well, by planning carefully. By making thoughtful decisions and by investing in people.
So we can create a future that's both prosperous and equitable.
Exactly. A future that benefits everyone.
So to sum up this whole deep dive, what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
First of all, embrace lifelong learning. The skills you have today might not be the skills you need tomorrow.
So be curious. Be adaptable.
And always be ready to learn new things.
Exactly. Pay attention to those trends we talked about.
Like digital skills, green skills, agro-processing, and the care economy.
Those are the areas where the jobs of the future are going to be.
And of course, don't forget those soft skills.
No, those are more important than ever.
Communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving.
Those are the skills that will set you apart.
Especially as automation becomes more and more common.
Absolutely.
And finally, don't just sit back and wait for the future to happen.
Right.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Be part of the conversation about technology, ethics, and the future of society.
Make your voice heard.
We all have a role to play in shaping the future.
We do.
And by being informed, engaged, and proactive,
absolutely,
we can help create a future of work in India that benefits everyone.
Well said.
I think that's a great note to end on.
It is.
Thanks so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's my pleasure.
It's been really insightful.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I hope our listeners found it valuable too.
Me too.
So that wraps up our deep dive into employment and skill development in India.
It does.
We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
Absolutely.